Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Ting.com. Ting is a mobile phone service that helps you save money by offering a fair price for the services you use. Visit hamnation.ting.com to get $25 towards your first device or service and to find out how much you can save. By Icom. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. In-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation. This is Ham Nation, episode number 215 for September 23rd, 2015. Meters and swans and shacks, oh my.
Good evening, everybody. It's Ham Nation time. It's time to talk about ham radio and everything connected to it. And we have just a whole lot tonight. I mean, all kinds of things going on, including we're going to talk about hams that are triplets. Yeah, that's right. 3 brother triplets, the only ones in the world. Okay, we're going to talk about them. But before I do all of that, let's go do a little spin around, see who all's with us. We've got some really special things going on. Gordo down in Costa Mesa, how's it doing there? The weather good? I bet it is.
We're good. We had the remnants of a hurricane and the remnants of a micro tsunami, but we're here.
Wow, good deal. And what's going on in Mississippi? Let's take lower Mississippi first. Hi, Don.
Hey, we're doing well down here. The weather has been quite nice down here as well. Not quite as hot, not quite as humid, which of course still means it's hot and humid. But we've got some cool stuff for you tonight on the Amateur Radio Newsline report. We don't have Tamitha Scove tonight. No solar report. She's had a pretty challenging week, so we don't have that. But we may be able to get her on here live before too much longer. We've got audio from the Route 66 special event. And, of course, the Pope is in the country, and there is a papal special event on there right now. And I don't remember if we have info on that in the report. I think we may, but I'll find it one way or another and give it to you. Back to you, Bob.
Oh, I know it will be there if it's any kind of news to have to do with ham radio. And George, our technical director, broadcast engineer, and a fix-it guy. He's just a fix-it machine. How you doing, George?
Oh, doing pretty good, Bob. Been out meeting with tower crews today and looking at some things that need to be done there. We're going to talk a little bit about our contest from last week and some of the answers we got there. And we're also going to have some gratuitous meter scenes here later in the show.
Ooh.
Okay.
How provocative.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Well, first, I want to answer a few things here in a little bit. But, man, I had so many letters. I had about 6 of them today, emails, and a couple of letters, what I'm talking about today, this week. And it's stuff like this. This is really great. This came from Eric Ulmer, O-L-M-E-R. I'm proud to have passed my license test today for technician. I've been a Ham Nation fan for a while, and clearly that podcast inspired me to take the test, and I passed today. Thanks to the whole Ham Nation gang. So, hey, gang, there we go. One more. Eric is going to be on the air soon. Woo! Then I got.
All right.
This is cool, isn't it, guys? It's the only thing we can want is for people to get interested and get their license. Here's one that really, really got me going. I got this letter. I worked this guy in the Route 66 contest, and I'm one of these guys, when it comes up to that, I do it every year. I look for weak signals. Yeah, there's guys that are 30, 40 over 9, but down in there are wikis, and I take some of those. I make everybody stand by, and we politely all stand by, and I ask everybody to listen. Well, here's what I remember working this guy. His call was N8SAN, Ryan. I get this letter, and he's telling me how much he appreciated me working me on the Route 66. This was the first time that my dad, WD8ORY's Kenwood 520, has been on the air in 30 years.
Wow.
And ready for this? It was my first HF contact ever. I was honored to have used his old radio, and it was great to make a contact with someone who took their time, even during a contest, to make sure they heard me correctly. And he's been working on things to get to that point, get his antenna right, and it's all because of Ham Nation. We could probably be here for hours reading all the things that all of us receive, but this is wonderful news. It's just great, and what more can you say? We're so thrilled, and any of you that have gotten your license, let us know about it. It's really great to everybody to share all that. But the other thing, I met these three guys in Huntsville. Got a picture. If you can put them up, put that picture up, please, Brian. I met these guys, and they were delightful to talk to, and they were just great gentlemen. Glenn, Wynn, and Lynn. They are triplet brothers, and they are all ham radio operators. Is this cool or what?
Oh, yeah.
I've invited them to try to get on the air with us, one of these Ham Nation programs. We got to work on them a little bit, but there you go, the triplet hams. I'm just so thrilled that I got to meet them, and we'll have them on here. But Lynn sent me a nice letter about some of their history. They are in the Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville area down in there, South Carolina, and so on. But thanks for doing that. In 1959, I worked the first triplet hams on 6 meters. This was one of them. I think it was VMQ, VMP, and I think the other one was VMR. But anyway, in 1959, July the 4th, 50 megacycles, with a 5-3 signal report on my Gonset 3, and they were on a Gonset 3. So there you go. Those things intrigue me. And I'm going to answer one other thing here before we really get rocking tonight. Thanks for sending all your emails, and I know each of us receive a lot of emails. One of the things that I got a lot about is band space, where do we work, and so on. And I'm going, wait a minute. This should have been in the test. And I didn't understand why people are asking me about the frequency charts. And I heard this past week, I heard 2 different contacts down in the extra class, and they started talking, and one of the guys, I guess, looked him up and said, wait a minute, you're a general. What are you doing here? Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Where should I go? That makes me sad. It makes me sad, because one of the first things you do is to find out where you're supposed to be operating due to your license. And I got a ton of requests this week about the AM window still. Well, I know it's tough because there's not a lot out there, but the AM window is pretty simple. And you want to pay attention to it. Just put it into Google. What is the AM phone window? And it'll show you 160 meters. It's the whole upper end of the band. 75 meters is very simple. It's 3870 to 3890. The problem is a lot of people get right on the band edges on single sideband, but they don't know. They're guys that weren't around back in the 50s when the gentleman's agreement came up. And then 40 meters is rough. That's only 2 frequencies, 7290 and 7295. And then 14286 on 20 and 21,390 on the 15. 10 meters is cool. It's up at 29.0. But pay attention to that and share this with the people you know. There are a lot of people and more every day coming on AM, and it's a wonderful thing to be there. It's a fun mode, but not that you can't work with your old gear or your new gear, but the old stuff works great. But I just wanted to stick my 2 cents worth in there because I get a lot of requests about that, and we'll get that all cleared up. Gordo, what are we going to do about some of these guys not knowing where to operate in the bands? I'm sure you have an answer for that, and you have a lot of other things tonight too. And before I go, don't go away. There's a big deal that Dale's going to bring you about a huge special event this weekend, the Swan event. They're holding a Saturday all day, working the old Swan radios. They're going to have a really nice video that Dale's got later about it. So stay tuned, everybody. And I'll take my PR40. I was supposed to have a PR10 on here tonight, but it was on the other building. I'm going to take my PR40 and get ready for I got to do a Skype meeting after a while. And be sure and let us know. We all do Skype meetings in your club. It's just so simple. And drop an email to Gordo, George, and we'll come to your club meeting. Just got to have Skype. So answer my question, Gordo. How are we going to handle this thing of knowing what frequency to work with my new license?
Well, thanks to Icom America, they are the ones that produce that two-sided band chart. They make it nice and large. Kenwood also has one. Yaesu had a band chart back then, but Icom is the premier band chart. You can go to the Icom website and download it yourself. Or better yet, meet up with me at one of the upcoming Hamfests, and I'll tell you where they are. And I always have a slug of those charts with me. So get to know that Icom chart. Hey, all this week, through the middle of October, it's Convoys on the Air. November for November is one of the key stations, and Ben and Tina up in the Bay Area are going to be aboard a battleship toward the end of this Convoys on the Air. From East Coast to West Coast, we'll keep you more up to date as we get closer to when they hit the West Coast. Coming up this Saturday, Spokane Hamfest, and that's going to be in Spokane Valley in Spokane, Washington. Also coming up this Saturday is the Dutch Fork Little Hamfest in South Carolina. I got to read my notes. Little Mountain. There we go. It's a big Hamfest in a little mountain in South Carolina. Now, I've got a ton of announcements for October Hamfest, but let's wait until we get to that week of the Hamfest, and I'll mention them here. But I do want to say we'll look forward to seeing all of you October 16, 17, and 18, when I'll be doing an instructor academy up at the Pacificon Hamfest in San Ramon near the Bay Area. And then October 23 and 24, hey, Bob, I'll be right on Route 66 attending the Kingman, Arizona State ARRL Convention. And then, of course, Consumer Electronics Show and Quartz Fest. Well, we had a good comment last week from a broadcast engineer like you, George. So if we could go ahead, Brian, and go to that first short shot. This gentleman, Elliot, K1MF, says, wait a minute. We can operate big time in an attic. And he's got the FT-DX 1200 and the Heil Pro 7. He said pink was the only color they had left at the ham store. And he said, I wanted it so bad that I will take pink. And after all, he's up in the attic, so no one will know that he's operating with a pink headset. Big FT857, FT7900, Icom 880, Alinco. And look at that, an old Swan FM 2-meter. I think that used crystals back then. But this is his attic setup. But I said, uh-oh, look at that aluminum foil. That's never going to work with an antenna in the attic. I was wrong. He came out and showed me his log of over 50 different countries running 40 watts or less most of the time. And this is the Comet CHV-5X. This is the same antenna that is at Last Man Standing. And I hope you all watched the show last week. It was a crack up of the old and the new coming together. John Amadeo, you are too funny on how you run these. Anyway, believe it or not, these individual aluminum sections do not impede the antenna radiation. He did have to retune after he did the antenna outside and then brought it inside. But if someone would have said, is this going to get out? And I go, no, it'll get out in the attic no further. Nope, I was wrong. Capacitive loading, top loading, makes this a very effective attic antenna system. It's got a little 6-meter that is hanging down there. So let no one say antennas have to be absolutely out in the open. Here's some open antenna, the buddy poles and some of the other TW antennas, quite effective. They're not as strong as a regular dipole, but don't let anybody say you can't get a signal out if you have to have the antenna hidden. Oh, yes, you can. Look at this at Boxborough. Wow, here's a little loop antenna. Very high Q, and it does its job. Some areas here in Southern Cal will find that our homeowners will run coax out to their car because they're not allowed an antenna on the roof. And that works quite nicely. There's Ken, KB6 EVR. He's run his out backer horizontal, counterpoised off of the metal railing. He just changes taps and he's back on the air. That's Jim, N6JF, that lives across the street. I go, oh, Jim, I don't know if this thing's going to really work on 15, 20, or 30 meters. He says, oh, just watch. He says, here it is. It is stainless steel. They are telescopic sections. Up it went. He was tuning around with a little MFJ SWR analyzer, which every ham should have one, maybe even two. He's got it loaded down there at the base. As soon as he put his 817 on it, we were talking across the country with an antenna in the backyard. Nobody would know it's there. And we've seen all sorts of backyard antennas counterpoised off of screen, and the counterpoise works well. Just digging a little metal into the soil usually won't do it. You've got to have something nice and conductive. And these little homebrew jobbies do a great job. You probably will need the MFJ SWR matching device that will take 10, 20, 30 ohms and make it 50, or 80, 90, or 100 ohms and get it back down to 50. And that'll help the feed point be nice and resonant. There's that 10-meter antenna we built about 6 months ago, and it first contact with South America running 817. That was maybe 5 watts. So if someone says you cannot have an antenna that is seen from the street, no problem. There's a simple little dipole that we built, probably about $5 worth of wire, and it's working all the way down to South America. And if you want multi-band, consider some of the multi-band antennas. They usually have about a 4-to-1 balun, and you feed it off center. And look what happens when you feed it off center. When you feed it off center like this, first of all, be sure and keep that feed point away from the metal mast, but that's not metal. That, I believe, is fiberglass, so we're okay there. But that off center will resonate on 40, 30, 20. Some will sort of resonate on 15 and, of course, 10 meters and maybe even 6 meters. And look at 75 and 80 meters. Quite a sharp point, but that's without an antenna tuner. That's the off-center fed Wyndham antenna. So pretty neat thing with antennas that you can put up in your backyard, do it in the middle of the night, and no one will ever know that they're there. And, of course, deny it the next morning. Well, it's been there the whole time. You could use a tuner, and that's Don in 9ZGE, and he's going to be at Quartz Fest, where I'll be, and he'll be likely doing antenna tuners every year, and he compares them all. And if you absolutely cannot have any antenna or anything like that, of course, you can go ahead and roll your system off the internet on some of the remote stations, and you'll be ready to go. So, Brian, we'll tell everybody, don't say that you can't get a good signal out on the air with an antenna that you can't see, even in the attic if it's full of aluminum. Well, a few weeks ago, we had the Amateur Television Network give us the DATV QSO Party. And the QSO Party ran for over 15 hours and had amateur television station check-ins from the VK3 RTV repeater in Melbourne, Australia, and the VK2 RTS repeater in Sydney, Australia, as well as here in the United States, the WR8 ATV repeater in Columbus, Ohio, WA6 SVT repeater right here locally in Southern California, the Amateur Television Network, and way over in the United Kingdom, they had the G Bravo 3 HV repeater. And let me tell you, some of the great shots that Don was able to capture using the digital techniques. And it was really fun to be able to watch all of the excitement from 39 countries that took part in this 25-hour extravaganza. And the World DATV QSO Party got its start back in 2011 with Amateur Radio Victoria. And organizer Peter, VK3BFG, said the program format primarily showed what ATV enthusiasts do with the video mode. Not just yak, 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 but video as you see right here. Some checked in the local ATV repeaters while others took part via Skype, but they all came out on the different networks throughout the world. And it really gives you a great opportunity playing ham radio, amateur television, to be able to see what other hams are doing, from cooking hot dogs or wild stuff in the background, some of the crazy shirts. Boy, he's going to be great on ham radio. But it really gives you a great idea as to all that hams do. And during the Australian leg of the event on that Friday, Melbourne ATV group took turns via VK3 RTV and then through the other ATV repeaters. And you never know who you're going to see. And there it is, Southern California. That's Don. That's our main man out here. And he is pulling together some of the ATV shots. So we encourage all of you that if you have an interest in broadcasting and video, take part in amateur television, both analog as well as the new wave of digital. And as you can see here, the hams on digital ATV really pull out all of the stops and really make things happen over the airwaves. It's not horribly expensive. You may have to spend close to $1,000 for the new digital ATV gear. But if you decide to go analog, there is lots of analog gear still around, and there are many amateur television repeaters that will be able to carry your signal over quite some distance. My personal best was receiving amateur television all the way from the slopes of the Mauna Loa volcano out here to the west coast, 2,500 miles away. That was Paul Lieb, KH6HME, who was running about, I'd say 50 watts of power. So amateur television, just one more avenue to get involved with if you enjoy playing ham radio, amateur television. So go to some of the amateur television sites, log on to DATV QSO Party, look up DATV, look up the Amateur Television Network, and we hope all of you, along with all of these stations that you're seeing on the screen, will get bitten by the bug. And Brian, if you want to come back to me, if you look over my shoulder, you'll see the Amateur Television Network on the air right now, streaming Ham Nation. So, Don, let's go back over to your neck of the woods and see what's happening down there in the south. So, Don, over to you from Gordo.
We have got a lot of things going on down here in the south, not the least of, in fact, not just in the south, but everywhere. For instance, let's talk about a returning sponsor to Ham Nation, a little company called Ting. Now, when last we checked in with Ting, you remember Ting was, they were basically a cell phone company, kind of, and they were reselling the Sprint network. Well, they've added some things. They're now on 2 nationwide networks, T-Mobile and Sprint. So if you've got a T-Mobile GSM phone or a Sprint CDMA phone, they've got you covered. It's a phone service that doesn't believe in contracts. Ting doesn't believe in overage fees, and Ting doesn't believe in unlimited plans either. Coverage on 2 nationwide networks. The first mobile service provider allow you to have devices on different networks under the same easy-to-manage account. That is cool. The pricing is amazing. An average monthly bill of $23 per device. Ting helps you save a lot of money on your monthly cell phone bill. With Ting, how you use your phone will determine what you pay. If you use less, you pay less. And there's no overage charges or penalties. Ting has no contracts. You'll only pay for what you use each month. Ting is pretty cool. And listen, if you're stuck in a contract and say, man, I'd really like to do this, but man, it's going to cost me, a couple $100 to get out of my contract. No, Ting will give you credit if you're paying an early termination fee to come to Ting. They will offer 25% credit of your ETF up to $75 per device for coming to Ting. So that'll help you out. Go to ting.com/ETF and you'll get all the info on that. And 80% of the devices out there now can come to Ting. They have a device checker at ting.com BYOD. That stands for bring your own device. Go to ting.com/BYOD. See if your device can make the move to Ting. And if it can, you got no reason not to. Also, the online control panel is amazing. You can take total control of your account, check your usage and your bills in the online control panel. And Ting has plenty of options for you in the online shop should you want to upgrade. Maybe you've got one of those 20% of phones that won't make it to Ting. Well, no problem. You can get your device, I believe, from Ting once you have the device that you want to use with Ting. They'll walk you through getting started, including bringing over your existing number or even getting a new one. You can save money. You can better manage your cell phone usage with Ting. And because you're a Ham Nation viewer, you save $25 off selected devices or mobile phone service just for getting started. HamNation.ting.com is the address. HamNation.ting.com. Ting, it's nice to have you back on the Little Dog and Pony Ham Radio show here. We appreciate you. Ting. And actually, I've gotten, the last time Ting was on, a friend of mine out in California, totally unsolicited, called me up and he said, hey, I switched over to Ting. I'm saving a bag full of money, and I love it. It's the same cell service that I had. It's just a lot cheaper, and I'm loving it. So I bet you will too. HamNation.ting.com. Ting, thank you so much for being part of Ham Nation. Now let's check in with the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 1977. These are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, September 23rd, 2015. California hams are on the scene of more wildfires. As California continues to struggle with emergency conditions from the Butte wildfire, Aries and Racy's volunteers were called out this past week to establish communications in support of Amador County's Red Cross shelter. The hams operated the station there around the clock for 120 hours through September 14th until roads reopened. Aries Racy's volunteers were also providing support for shelter communications in Calaveras County and ARRL's San Joaquin Valley section. The Butte fire, affecting more than 71,000 acres, was only 30% contained as of the middle of the week. Radio amateurs were also standing ready to assist in the Lake and Napa County areas affected by the Valley Fire west of Sacramento. Charlie Porter, N6JOA, has been coordinating amateurs at the University of California, Davis to gather up veterinary supplies for livestock and domestic animals being evacuated. It's a big week on the East Coast as Pope Francis prepares for his historic first visit to the United States. Amateur Radio will play a big part in celebrating the occasion, as we hear from Amateur Radio Newsline's Mark Abramovich in T3V.
Pope Francis will visit Washington, D.C., New York, and Philadelphia. Special call signs will hit the ham bands beginning September 22nd through the 27th, the time Pope Francis is in the country. Jim Nitzberg, WX3B, says the event has generated quite a bit of attention.
Most of us have been involved in other special events that weren't nearly as significant or as special. There's been an unprecedented amount of attention that this event has drawn in the non-radio world. And there's been a lot of attention before it gets going in the radio world.
And Nitzberg says expectations for the special event operations are high.
We're expecting to make probably somewhere between 20 and 50,000 contacts among us in the period of time that we're active, among about 40 different amateur radio operators.
Ron Sigismonti, N3RS, has the rundown of call signs that will be used.
In the D.C. area, there'll be K3P. That's going to be used by the D.C. and Maryland operators down in that area. N4P by those that are in Northern Virginia. Up in the New York City area, K2P will be used. It will also be used for southern New Jersey. And the Frankfurt Radio Club has a call sign W3FRC and will be working W3FRC portable WMF, which is standing for the World Meeting of Families.
And Sigismonti says one more group will be on the air from the Philadelphia area during the Post visit on the weekend, the Holmesburg Amateur Radio Club.
In the Holmesburg area, WM3PEN will be on just the last 2 days of the event.
For more on the Papal Special event, look up the K3P page on QRZ.com. Another hugely popular event just wrapped up, the annual Route 66 on the air. Christian Kudnick, K0STH, tried his luck at the pile-ups and has this report.
Route 66 on the air is a special event that's in its 16th year. The event has been growing every year. In 2011, the event had over 25,000 contacts. In 2014, Route 66 on the air had over 46,000 contacts. Being new to HF, I'm going to get in the game.
Here's it.
Whiskey 6 Zulu, Quebec.
Kilo Delta 8, Papa Juliet, Papa.
Kilo Charlie 4, November Alpha Papa.
Okay, let's try again.
Whiskey 6 Papa, here's it.
Kilo 0, Sierra Tango Hotel.
K0STH, Kilo 0, Sierra Tango, Juliet Hotel, I believe. Go ahead.
Roger, Roger. Kilo 0, Sierra Tango Hotel got you at a 5-7 coming into the state of Missouri. QSL?
Hello, Steve, or Christian. How you doing there? Yeah, I also 5-9 down here in St. Louis. So, name here is Jim, and how you doing tonight, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for taking the call. Appreciate it. You got a great pile-up going on.
Thank you. Thanks for the contact. Appreciate it. You're in the logbook, buddy.
Gotcha. A word of caution. This event, like many other special events, is addictive. In St. Louis, along historic Route 66, I'm Christian Kudnick, K0STH for Amateur Radio Newsline.
Did you get a clean sweep? Me neither. But, of course, the fun was in the chase, right? And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for over 37 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. With Mark Abramovich, NT3V, Christian Kudnick, K0STH, and Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. All right, some good stuff. I think I got all but 6, I think, for the Route 66. And I haven't worked any of the papal visit stuff, although I did hear one of them on 20 earlier tonight. So they're out there. So get out there and enjoy the special events. It's a neat little side trip, if you will, a little off the beaten path to just making regular, hey, how you doing, 5-9 contacts. Get out there and chase a little paper. We don't have Dr. Tamitha Skov tonight. She's had a pretty busy week. But I'll tell you something that's cool that she is doing. If you've heard of Periscope, she's on Periscope now. And she's actually doing some live things on Periscope almost every day. So usually in the middle of the day. And I believe she's got 1 or 2 of those on YouTube, and probably we'll be putting more of those on YouTube. And I was chatting with her earlier today, and we're going to try to get her to do some stuff live here on Ham Nation for us fairly soon. Yeah, Periscope's cool. I saw Dr. T was on Periscope, and that's the only reason why I installed it on my phone is for Dr. T. So we're gonna check in with her whenever we can, and hopefully get her on here live, because she loves Ham Nation. She gets in the chat room periodically and kind of covertly. She doesn't make herself known, but she watches, so she knows what we're doing. And she appreciates us, and believe me, we appreciate you, Dr. T, so much. All right, I guess that'll do it for my part of the festivities tonight. It's time to head on upstate, I guess, if you will. We don't really call it that down here in Mississippi. We just call it up yonder towards Jackson. Now let's see what's going on with George tonight in Smoke and Solder. George, or should I say Mason Stone?
No, you shouldn't. Yeah, for those about to solder.
Yes.
And for those about to measure also. You know, last week we talked about filament voltage.
That's awesome.
Boy. And I have a picture that's not too far off from that, except my hair was blonde, not that color, but the gear looked very similar. We were talking about filament voltages, and I showed you a couple of meters here, the old Simpson 260 that, you know, we really like. We like the old analog meters. or a newer, like this Fluke here, digital meter. This one's true RMS. Great for measuring AC voltage with. Well, if you're, and I can't recommend that you go measure your house current or anything like that. But if you were, you might use one of these to measure the voltage to be sure you got the voltage coming in that you should. That's one check you can do, but there are some other checks that you can do as well that particularly we like to do with transmitters. One, if you've got an installation that has three-phase or even for regular house current, single-phase stuff, a clamp-on ammeter is a real handy thing. This is one Radio Shack used to make here. I'm pretty sure they don't have it anymore, but there's a lot of these out there now. You can find them at Lowe's and Home Depot, as well as MCM Electronics has I don't know how many different models of clamp-on meters. These you clamp around one leg of an AC line. You can't do it around a pair because it can't measure that. Put it over one lead right there at, say, your fuse box, which I can't recommend that you do, but wherever you want to measure current, you can use one of these clamp-on ammeters, and you don't have to break the circuit, because normally to check current on a circuit, you've got to break that circuit and put your ammeter in series. With a clamp-on, you don't have to break it, just clamp it over there. I've been using one of these to check some three-phase power here the past week, and I've got a lot more sites I want to check with it. But the reason that you really want to use one of these, and particularly if you're dealing with three-phase, it's possible that you could lose one leg of a three-phase circuit and your gear still be operating, and you take a voltmeter and you measure, and you've got voltage between the different legs there, when in fact one leg is missing. If you use a clamp-on ammeter like this over each leg, if one's missing, you're not going to measure any current there, so you're going to know for sure that you've got a leg out on a three-phase circuit. So clamp-on ammeter is very handy to have, and I like to use maybe once a year, check, transmitter sites and such to make sure that the load is balanced and about what it should be. But there's another type of meter that we like to use, and that's a thermometer or a thermometer, like one of these. This is an infrared thermometer, and if you can see there, y'all are 93.6 degrees. So this is handy because you can measure the temperature of, say, a circuit breaker or a connection for a wire where, there's a terminal screwed down. Anywhere there's a connection, fuse, you can measure it with one of these. Just check the temperature, and you don't have to touch anything. It should be pretty close to whatever the ambient temperature is. It might be a little rise in it, like in the case of a fuse or something, because there's a little resistance there. But if you're, say, like looking at the legs in a circuit breaker box, you could find one that's really hot there, because those things can get loose on their own with time, and you could have a connection there that's heating up. It could potentially cause a fire, or at the least burn up the wire and the connector there. So using an infrared thermometer every now and then to check high current connections is a great idea, and it's one more thing you can do sort of as preventive maintenance to make sure things are operating the way that they should. Once you've measured some circuits with one of these, just write down your readings. When you come back a year later or whenever, you can tell you ought to have about the same thing. Now, it's going to vary depending on what all you've got on. Say if you've got the clothes dryer on when you check it, it's going to be, different than it would be if it wasn't on. And the same thing with that clamp-on meter. But these are just two more tools that you can use to kind of keep check on things and make sure everything's operating like it should, and sort of head off some big problems before they become too big. Well, right now, we want to get a message from Icom, and then we'll come back and give away some stuff. Are you contest ready? Expand your band experience and check out Icom for the best in HF. Once again, Icom raises the bar with the IC7851. Radio features include a 1.2 kHz optimum roofing filter, new local oscillator design with improved phase noise, and several spectrum scope enhancements. The pattern of perfection continues with Icom's IC7700. This radio features a spectrum waterfall display on an impressive 7-inch color LCD, digital voice recording to capture incoming and outgoing calls, and direct remote control operation with Icom's RSBA1 software. For solid HF operation this season, try Icom's IC7600. This rig offers advanced DSP technology and 3 IF roofing filters, dual watch on the same band, and LED backlighting on an ultra-wide 5.8-inch display. Make sure you visit ICOMAmerica/amateur for more information on Icom's complete line of amateur radio products. And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation and register for some great swag prizes like T-shirts, hats, those band posters that we saw earlier. They just put together a little prize package, and somebody wins one of those every week. But you can also learn about their monthly grand prize drawing while you're there, because they give away a radio every month. And for September, the grand prize is going to be the Icom ID 51A 50th Anniversary Edition, the VHF UHF Dual Watch Handy Talkie with D-Star, integrated GPS, micro SD card slot, fast DV data, IPX7 waterproof construction, near repeater list up for digital voice and analog repeaters, enhanced DPRS, and a whole lot more. So go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation after this and each episode of Ham Nation and register to win. And I noticed someone said in the chat room a moment ago, I didn't catch the name there, but they said, do not look at the laser beam with your remaining good eye. That could be a problem. Yes, don't look at that. If you're going to measure temperature of yourself, use something else. I wouldn't use this. Anyway, I've got something else to give away here. And, you know, last week I had asked a question, and this came from the amateur radio technician's exam. What is the disadvantage of air core coaxial cable when compared to foam or solid dielectric types? And your choices were A, it has more loss per foot, B, it cannot be used for VHF or UHF antennas, C, it requires special techniques to prevent water absorption, or D, it cannot be used at frequencies, it cannot be used below freezing temperatures. And this was a two-part question. I had another question I just threw in here that is not part of the technician exam. What is the advantage of air core coaxial cable? Well, I didn't have as many entries as I thought I would have in this one, but we did have a winner, and that's Will, VA6CMR. And he said, howdy, George. The answer for part one is C. It requires special tactics to ensure no water absorption. And that is correct, because air dielectric coaxial cable, normally heliax, hams call it hardline, broadcasters don't. They call it heliax. You can't get water inside that air core there, or you're going to have a problem. If you get moisture in there and you're running any power, you're going to have a flashover and end up with some charred line. So typically, that type of cable has to have either nitrogen or compressed dry air in them to keep moisture out. As long as there's a little positive pressure on that cable, and we're talking very little, you know, maybe 3 pounds or so typically. As long as there's positive pressure on it, then water can't seep in. And if you're using nitrogen or dried air, then that kind of helps prevent moisture from accumulating in there as well. So that was the answer to the first part of the question, is you got to use special tactics to keep out water absorption. Part two of it He said the losses are reduced and velocity of propagation is increased, and that's correct, Will. That's one reason you might want to use air dielectric cable. Really, it's not, particularly for HF, it doesn't make any difference. Just go ahead and use foam dielectric. No need to deal with air dielectric. You get to higher frequencies, though, where your coax losses are greater, then an air dielectric cable is could even be a necessity on a really long run of transmission line to keep the loss down. VHF and UHF, typically not. I mean, we wouldn't use air dielectric, but you get on up into the microwave frequencies, and that starts becoming pretty important, particularly with a long run of cable. So congratulations, Will. We're going to send you out a DX Engineering ceramic coffee mug. Compliments of DX Engineering and Ham Nation. We'll get that out to you this week. And for next week, I've got another question, and we're going to give our lucky winner one of these Heil Sound fits-all hats. It doesn't have one of those straps in the back. It's, what do they call this? Flex fit. And it really fits good. Of course, this one is a small and a medium, and it's just a little too small for my big head, but I've got a variety of sizes there. So whatever size of head you got, we've got a hat to fit you. If you'd like to win that, then answer this. What is the resistance of a circuit in which the current is 3 amperes of flow through a resistor connected to 90 volts? So let me read that again. What is the resistance of a circuit in which a current of 3 amperes flows through a resistor connected to 90 volts? Your choices are A, it's 3 ohms, B, it's 30 ohms, C, 93 ohms, or D, 270 ohms. If you think you know the answer, then send your answer to me at hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and we could be sending you out one of these Heil Sound caps right here. All right, good luck in the contest, and give me some answers. I know some of you guys know the answers to these questions, so let me hear from you. Let's bring in our old friend Dale. We haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks here, and I think, Dale, you got some good stuff for us this week, don't you?
I hope so, George. Yeah, I think we have some fun videos tonight, or at least one fun video. A news story about a huge special event that's scheduled this weekend. And if you've been waiting out there to see your shack on Ham Nation for a couple of months, well, you won't have too much longer to wait. We'll be featuring the Ham Shacks of Summer 2015 just a little bit. First, though, let's check out that special event.
QRZ, the frequency, K0 MHP, Kilo 0 Mike Hotel Papa.
Contact, this is KC0 LKG.
Hey Ed, K0 MHP, over.
Hey, what's up? Heard you testing while tuning up on 20 meters here. Kind of a short skip though, hi.
Yeah, I'm just testing the SWR, etc. on my Swan Goldface 120, getting ready for the upcoming 25th anniversary of the Sunday Swan single sideband net. And am I 40 or 60 over today? We're barefoot. Go ahead.
All right. Well, when is this special event?
Well, the event starts on September 26th at 1500 Zulu. It runs a little long for special events. It's going to end on October the 11th at 1500 Zulu. And, of course, that's 20 meter single sideband. And we're calling it the Swan 25 on 20, as in the 25th year on 20 meters for the single sideband net for the Swan user group.
Well, that sounds interesting. And I'm guessing there will be an official event stations and a certificate for participants. Is that right?
Could use a few more official event stations. We're attempting to get as many of the amateur Swan radio models and radios from the Swan radio family represented. Just the 20 meter capable models would add up to nearly 40 different models. And that does not include the military and commercial models that could also work 20 meters. Each official event station will be operating Swan model or a member of the Swan radio family, which would be Cubic and Astro, Atlas, and so forth. The participants attempt to work as many of those models as possible, And the ultimate goal is to get a clean sweep of all the models that were represented during the special event. Right now, we're up to about 20 or so models. We hope to have a few more in the next couple of days sign up to do that. And yes, there will be a certificate. You can find out all the information on the certificate, the log sheet, and all the necessary need-to-know stuff on the Swan 25 on 20 webpage. Easiest way to get there would be to Google Swan 2520, run all that together, Swan 2520, and it should be easy enough to find.
All right, well, that should be easy enough to do. Hope band conditions improve. They've been really bad lately.
We hope to overcome band conditions by geographic distribution of the event stations, and from time to time there will be random simultaneous operations of the same radio in different parts of the country. Also, our event ops and participants will be able to post to the Swan 2520 webpage who is operating, where they're operating, and what Swan model they're operating at that particular time.
Well, that should be a good idea. Plus, that should be a plus as well.
Hey, you never gave me my signal report, Ed. What's the report? Go ahead.
Oh, it's 60 over 9 at least. Hi. Not bad for across town. All right, Wade, 73. This is KT0LKG. I'm clear.
Okay, later. This is K0MHP. We're clear, Ed. Have a good day. 73.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Wade, for that report. A big special event coming up this weekend. Reminds me of the Swan 240 I used for many years early in my ham radio adventures. I had it mounted on in my first car, a tan VW Bug. So get out there and enjoy the special event. Well, it's time to visit ham shacks around the world now. Here's Show Me Your Shack. Tonight, shack photos from all around the world, submitted during the summer of 2015. Here's Randy, K7AGE, operating from a portable shack at the Oshkosh, Wisconsin Air Show campground. He's checking into the D-Star net. Sarah, KM4GMT, wanted her dad, Van, to take a picture of her with Al, K1LTJ. Here's the result. Wichita's W0 VFW Radio Club displayed antique military radios at the 28th annual Kansas Veterans and Family Reunion at El Dorado State Park in July. Roger Klingman, K0RMK, brought the radios from his extensive collection. The Providence, Rhode Island Emergency Management Association operated 2 Foxtrot from this shack during field day. Here, Matt, W1BSN, keeps logs for Marissa, operating the GOTA station. Well, Dan, WA5CYR, has reorganized and rewired his shack. Here's the result. Ed, WX4ED in Griffin, Georgia, sent us this picture of his Icom 720 and auxiliary equipment. He's pastor of the First Baptist Church in Zebulon, Georgia, and enjoys both 20 and 40 meters. Jared, K2YSO, sent us this photo of 4 generations of hams operating at the Chautauqua Amateur Radio Service Club of Jamestown, New York. Jared is standing, seated left to right are Terry, W2REA, Michael, W2MKF, and Larry, KB2ESY. Here's Jared operating at W2REA during the April 2015 Rookie Roundup. He won first place in the 2 call area. Dan, WA5CYR in Tupelo, sent us this impressive picture showing what it takes to mount a full-size 80-meter beam. Well, Don, AE5DW, has a nice shack in Picayune, Louisiana, but you can't see it during the Ham Nation broadcast. Here's a wide view and a close-up of that nice Icom IC7600. Dan, W5FRT, sent us a photo after he met George at the Huntsville Ham Fest. And proud dad Mike, K0IKZ, sent this photo of his son Anthony, KE0CEJ. Anthony was listening for Gordo on 10 meters using his IC 7200. Anthony is 13 years old. Scott, W8CQD, sent us a photo of his modest shack, which he uses mainly on the digital modes. He mostly sticks with JT65, but does some sideband and local repeater work. Walt, W3DDT, has a nice shack in Jackson, Tennessee. He's especially proud of his clean sweep in the Ham Nation Bicentennial Broadcast Special event and has it framed alongside his DX Century Club Award. Walt also made the trip to Huntsville. Here he poses for a photo with Young Ham of the Year Anna, W0ANT. And if you have a chance to work him, you'll receive an interesting QSL card. His call sign reflects his work with the famous insecticide. Ray Novak, N9JA, sent us this photo after he attended the Department of Homeland Security APCO 2015 conference. The famous Goonie Bird radios played a prominent part in the agency's history. Well, Al, K1LTJ, went on a 12-day Caribbean cruise. Unfortunately, he didn't know before he departed Danbury that Carnival would have let him operate from the stateroom aft aboard the Splendor. If you're going to cruise on Carnival, check it out. Ham radios are welcome. Randy, K1AGE, set up shop outside on the deck to pursue the meteors during the recent shower. Here's his setup complete with video camera. Jim, AC0KN, sent us photos of the Santa Fe Trail Amateur Radio Club operation at KS0KS, the bonus station during the Kansas QSO Party. Here's Bob, KC0TZX, in the hot seat, and Dell operating digital at KS0KS. And speaking of a small world, Scott worked N3FJP, the author of the logging program they were using during the QSO Party. Meanwhile, Robert, K0RU, and John, N0EI, activated many Kansas counties operating as November Zero Tango during the QSO Party from Rob's mobile station. Well, Dennis, W1WV, was so impressed with the coverage of AM radio earlier this month that he sent us photos of his AM shack. The National NC300 receivers in the middle. Here's the Barker and Williamson 5100 Dennis uses, and the Johnson Viking Ranger. Dennis has been a ham for 27 years. He was first licensed back in 1988. He restored all of the rigs shown here. And here's a photo of the rig operated by William, DJ0FBU, from his shack in Germany. Roger, KE4BFG, one of the 40-meter post-show net regulars, sent us this shot of him operating and a closer view of his equipment in Cosby, Tennessee. Barry, K2OWK, who's been a ham since 1954, celebrated his 75th birthday in Tupelo earlier this month. So Dan, WA5CYR, sent us a few photos. Here's Barry's shack. Barry is one of the 4 net controls on the Northeast Mississippi Severe Weather Net and vice president of the Tupelo Amateur Radio Club. When he's not on the radio, he enjoys riding his motorcycle and his cat, BW. And last but not least, George, KB0HVB, is in the beginning stage of his ham radio career. He's still building the Dream Shack, but in the meantime, he's anxious to get on the air and, weather permitting, operates from what he calls his alfresco setup on the back deck. Nice. And that's it for this issue of Show Me Your Shack. Remember to send your shack photos to HamNationVideos at twit.tv. Our cat, Susie, she thought she'd help out there and say hi to BW while we were recording that the other night. That's it for tonight. We look forward to showing everyone your shack very soon. Send your photos and links to any videos you'd like us to show to HamNationVideos at twit.tv. If you worked us in the Kansas QSO Party last month, get your QSO card to us.
Wow.
Got 250 cards from Amanda. I've sent out about 27, so I've got a lot to spare here. If you like a card, write to us in the mail there with an SASE, and we'll get one to you. And Amanda, K1DDN, does a fine job out at Pikes Peak Printing in Canyon City, does a fine job here on Ham Nation next. But first, we are going to check in and find out the latest from DX Engineering. Good night, all.
Well, thanks, Dale. This isn't the latest. This is actually a vintage catalog. This is from 2005, I believe. And I enjoy going back and looking through the old catalogs. For instance, here's what I like. You compare the fall and winter catalog from 2005. It has 42 pages. And you compare it to the fall and winter catalog from 2014, and it has 110 pages. Shows you how much DX Engineering has grown. They're constantly adding new stuff all the time, and you just never know what is going to come up next, what new product line they're going to carry at DX. Just amazing, amazing stuff. And any experienced or even inexperienced ham radio operator will tell you the secret to an efficient station is having the right equipment on hand for your shack or your workbench, and you can get all that at DX Engineering. More radios and antennas, a wide array of the supplies, tools, and shack accessories to make what you do around your radio the best on-air experience it can be. A precise clock, absolutely critical, and logging accurate contacts also lets you know if you're late to dinner, if your wife doesn't yell and tell you. They have several atomic clocks from Lacrosse. They set themselves automatically, which means you can install it once and then just forget about it. You can get them for your wall or for your desk. They do a lot more than tell times. They'll give you things like alarms, weather info, and they're available in digital or traditional analog format. They're pretty cool. And nothing stalls a homebrew project or station repair faster than running out of a station essential, and that is the gotta-have-them consumables like tape, dielectric grease, fuses, zip ties, and some of the DX Engineering organizers and cases will keep everything tidy and organized. And DX Engineering is truly a one-stop shop to get precision electronic tools, soldering irons, multimeters, antenna analyzers, a whole lot more. They carry a broad assortment of cable prep tools as well to ensure your cable assemblies will provide maximum efficiency and reliability if you're a roll-your-own guy. Of course, they sell the pre-made stuff, too, if you just want to, get it quick and get it out of the way. And, of course, when the bands are dead, you got to have something to read. There's a great collection of literature at DX Engineering from ARRL and Champion Radio and more. Massive selection of titles that are great for operators of any skill level, especially the young guys. You want to get in and learn some cool stuff? Man, go to DX Engineering. They cover a huge range of topics from antenna building all the way to digital modes. And the ARRL publishes the annual handbook, operating manual, repeater directory. They're all available from DX Engineering in the most up-to-date editions. For advanced tower building or antenna theory, Champion Radio books has you covered at DX Engineering. Several editions that rigorously examine and test several popular HF antenna designs, including the DX Engineering Butternut Verticals. Must-read books for any ham interested in buying, building, or experimenting with antennas. And DX Engineering, of course, ships faster than anyone else in the industry. If you get your ground shipping order in by 10 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and if it's in stock, it'll be on a truck headed your way that day. Proven products, expert advice, DX Engineering helping you shrink the globe. Request your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com. And another cool thing about DX Engineering is they have experts in just about everything. Let's say you're having a problem with something you bought from DX Engineering. Well, you pick up the old blower here and you start rapping numbers out and say, hello, listen, my BR549 high-zoot Hootis mechanism is experiencing a failure to chooch. Oh, wait, you've experienced? Okay, wait, hang on a sec. I don't, you know what? That easy? That's all I got to do? Thanks, DX Engineering. It's that easy. They will absolutely help you walk you through any problem you may have. Expert advice, just the best people ever. And also, check out this shirt. I just got this. This is the red, white, and blue DX Engineering t-shirt. Has the red, white, and blue logo. I thought it was black and red when I ordered it, and I got it out of the box. I'm like, look at this. That's right. Red, white, and blue, because America. DX Engineering.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's right. Amanda, do you have your pink? Amanda has a pink DX Engineering shirt, which is not in the catalog. I think it's a special deal because, Amanda's special. Is that your pinky shirt? It's not your DX Engineering shirt.
No, I just own too many pink shirts. I think I have one for every day of the month.
We didn't coordinate our wardrobe tonight, but
no, we didn't. No, next week.
Yes. What's going on in the chat room?
Oh, we got so much going on here. First of all, let's see. I got one for you, Don. I know you've explained this before, but people are still dying to know. How did you hook up with Dr. Scove? How did you and Tamitha get involved in her helping us out in Ham Nation?
Somebody posted one of her videos, one of her YouTube videos. I saw it on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing stuff, because she reminds me a lot of Gordon West. Gordon West can take a very, very technical topic, such as anything having to do with ham radio, and distill it down to where anybody can understand it. That is the magic of the Gordon West manuals. And Tamitha is the same thing with this big our star, our local star. She can take, and she knows all kind of things about the sun and everything, and she is able to distill that down into a format that anyone can understand. And also, she knows about ham radio. The guy who runs her website is a ham, and so she knows about us, and she knows that the sun has a lot to do with us. And there was something I wanted to use some audio from her on Newsline once, and so I emailed her and I said, "Do you mind if I do this?" And she said, "Oh, by all means, please." And I said, "Okay, well, maybe I'll use you on Ham Nation too." And she said, "Oh, by all means, please." And so that's how we got associated with Dr. T. And then, of course, through that, Tim Duffy at DX Engineering got together with some other people to help with that, and sent her to Dayton to the Antenna Forum, and it's snowballed from there. So that's how we got together with Dr. T. It's great.
That's
great.
great.
Just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
I follow her on Twitter, and she seems amazing. And she is really in tune with what affects us for our ham bands. And
absolutely.
I thought that maybe it was just coincidence. Maybe the ham started helping her with her website after she got involved, but that's not the case. So that's very cool. From
day one. In fact, Lan Lamphir is what is his call sign? I knew I'd blank on that. Maybe Lan is his name. Lanny. Lan Lamphir.
Is it a 7 call, I think?
I believe so. It could be. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, his wife is actually a colleague of Dr. Scove. She's one of these PhD-ish kind of people at the University of Oklahoma, and they know each other, and that's kind of how he met her. So it's a small world.
It is the small world. Speaking of the small worlds, Gordo, nice to have you on at the end of the show tonight. I didn't know if you wanted to go over how are MCOMs going in California for all the wildfires there. How's Aries handling it? Do you have anything to give us on that?
I do, and I'm very happy to report that with the new structure of MCOM now involved with FEMA and VOAD, hams are coming out from Aries and Races and CERT, Salvation Army, American Red Cross. They're all pitching in, and as you heard on Newsline, those ham radio operators are staffing shelters. They're working side by side with PR groups to get the word out once they have the word on homes that have been saved by those courageous firefighters. So, yep, the ham radio operators in Northern California are really getting their job done well.
And it's a hard job. It really is. Those guys go without showers or meals for a very long time. They're usually the last ones to get supported. They want to make sure everyone that doesn't know if their house is still there or not is helped first. And they're always, it's so selfless. Thank you, you guys, for helping out there. Appreciate it. Gordo, always nice to hear you. And Don, let's move on to you. We got a question about an MFGA 269 analyzer. NT9E would want to know, how do you sweep a length of coax with the MFJ 269?
I am the wrong guy to answer because I'm probably the only person here at Ham Nation that does not own. Yeah, you want to ask George that question.
I did mean to ask George that. I'm sorry. I still had you on my mind. George, I apologize. That was... he's so impressionable. George, I'm sorry. That was for you. Go ahead.
Actually, George is not on right now.
Oh.
I'll take it.
Gordon knows.
Gordo can do it.
Thank you, Gordo. Thank you.
MFJ has done a very good job with their MFJ SWR analyzers, and it's right in the instruction book, but it's toward the back, and it allows a ham to be able to sweep a piece of coax and tell whether or not coax has got a short or an open. They can be able to determine if that coax is at a quarter or a half wavelength, but you have to follow the instructions, and they're in the MFJ SWR analyzer. It's a thick book, but that meter can do so much. So read the book. It's there.
Awesome. And I apologize. I knew that Dale was on and not George. I apologize. Dale, speaking of... Go ahead.
Oh, can I throw something in on that? Not specifically on the analyzer, but just in general for new hams that are starting out here. One of the things you want to realize, and you learn this over many, many, many years, is the fact that the smart person may not necessarily be the one that knows all of this stuff on the top of his head. What I'm trying to encourage you to do is be the person that knows where to find out how to do something. And of course, Gordo had the clue there. You know, you go to the instruction manual or the book, and, you know, if you've got a piece of equipment where you don't have a book, you know, in this day and age with the internet, you can go to Google or you name the search site and type it in and type the model number, and you can probably get a manual and read it there. So think about this when you're starting out in ham radio. I really encourage you to do a lot of research, look a lot of things up. If you have a question, don't stew about it and just think about it. Go to the internet, type that question in, and you'll probably get an answer. Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay, I definitely agree. Sometimes, though, when you're looking for reviews on things, he's got one right there. That's awesome, Gordo. Show that again.
And again, MFJ also has a hotline. So if anyone gets stuck on the operation of the SWR analyzer, you can make a phone call and be able to get an answer. So made in the USA, MFJ, keep up the great work.
Very good. And along with those reviews online, just be careful. I would want to ask the experts. Don't just believe any review or any suggestion you hear online. That's kind of like putting your question out there on your local repeater. You're going to get 42 answers from 42 different people. So with that, Dale, I have exciting news, you guys. I may have a new Show Me Your Shack video coming soon. Jeff and I just put an offer on a house this afternoon. And yes.
Fantastic.
So November 3rd would be our closing. So we'll be building our shack, and hopefully we can document the whole thing from what we started with till the end. So it's going to be a blast.
Awesome. Well, that'll make a great video.
I think so. I'm really excited. I really hope this deal goes through, and so you guys send us your well wishes. And that's all I've got for the show tonight. Great show, great information. And only one other thing, Don, if you can answer this. Do you know what the red mic was behind Bob tonight?
No, we actually asked him that in the pre-show gathering, and he was rather vague. You know, he likes to bring prototypes out and just kind of stick them in the back. So I would say be watching a Ham Nation episode in the future, and he'll, there's probably some prototype thing that he's got going on. You never know. You never know with him.
Very cool. Well, hey, that's all I got, you guys. Good show. Send it over to you, Don.
All right, George. If you still have your thermometer out there, your laser thermometer, let's Let's see if we can't have like a Star Wars moment here where we have dueling.
George isn't here, honey.
Dueling lightsabers here or something. Do you still
No,
have
George.
Oh, George is gone. Oh, well.
That's right. See, I did that.
That's right. Never mind. Yeah, there we go.
That's
okay,
probably as good on TV cameras as it is on your eyes.
I know. I was just thinking that. Yeah. Oh, there he is. There. Yeah.
He'll always be here in spirit.
Exactly. There's a guy on that has YouTube videos where he does a lot of high voltage stuff, and he actually had a really strong laser, and he shot his video camera with it, and it made it burned the sensor out. So it was pretty interesting. Photo. Oh, I can't think of the name of it. I'll figure it out and bring it to you next week. But anyway, photo induction or photo something like that. But it's pretty funny stuff. So yeah, this is like there's nothing to this. It happens to be a Bluetooth mini keyboard that has the laser pointer in it, but no strength there. Anyway, this has been a fun show. So thanks to everybody for watching us tonight. We had some good stuff. 20-meter net I think is on 14287. I think I saw that roll across. 40 meters. Dale, do you know where 40 is tonight?
I think we're going to fire up on 7278. I just checked, and it appears to be clear. Haven't heard Mike yet, but if we don't hear him, we'll go ahead and put out a call pretty shortly here as soon as we set up the Ustream feed of the audio.
Awesome. Cheryl will be around 3847 is her usual place. And, of course, the digital nets, the D-Star net on reflector 14 Charlie. And then the Echolink net on the Star Do Drop In. Let's say it again. Star Do Drop In conference server. Star Do Drop In Star conference server. I am a professional pronunciator. You know, I get paid for talking. Couldn't tell it by this performance. That's node 355800 on Echolink. So I think that'll do it for us. We're a little bit over time tonight, but we've had some good information. And oh man, getting back to the Swan stuff real quick, Dale. I had a 500 CX and I missed that thing like you wouldn't believe. I'm going to try to work some of those Swan stations. Thanks so much for bringing that to me. And I want to get another Swan so bad. So anyway, so for George and for Bob and for Amanda and for Dale and for everybody else, all of our sponsors, and you out there in the chat room and you on the other side of that camera right there. We appreciate each and every one of you. And for Dr. T, who hopefully will be back with us next week, and hopefully we'll see her live soon. I'm Don Wilbanks at E5W saying thank you so much for enjoying Ham Nation tonight. Well, we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching and putting up with our foolishness, and we will see you next week on most of this same Twit network. Good night, everybody.
Good night.